So I have been playing another game. I've been playing a game for review. And I want to preface this by saying that I love adventure games. You talked a little bit about adventure games a moment ago. I love adventure games. I grew up on the Sierra Online, Lucas Arts games, and Myst kind of came from that. I only played Myst and Riven a little bit, but the genre has been one of the most interesting to follow, especially the last decade. In the last decade, we've had some of the most intriguing takes on adventure gaming, which for all intents and purposes is like this really focus on the story, focus on the characters, focus on their relationships type of stuff. And I love that aspect. And there's a developer, DontNod, who has been putting out these games, in the genre for a while now, and I've missed them because they have tended to be sort of in the young adult range, the young adult genre, because it does, focus on a lot of stuff with teens and their trials and tribulations. And as you guys know, I ain't a young buck anymore. But I had the chance. I said, you know what? Let me dive in. Had the opportunity to play Lost Records, Bloom and Rage. This is called Tape 1 because it's actually a two-parter. And it was initially kind of delayed a little bit from January to launch into February. I think the second one is coming in March or April or something. But so I've never played a DontNod game. But that being said, playing this has potentially flipped the script for me because I can't believe how much I enjoyed what I've been playing here. So first and foremost, you talked about good game design. You mentioned it a little bit ago. What is good game design? And am I playing this well enough to understand that this is good or bad? Is this the intent of what the developers are trying to do? And if the developers are trying to get me to feel like a 15-year-old girl in 1995 Michigan, you nailed it. They nailed it. That, man. They nailed it. They nailed it because so we have a cabin. We have an up north in Michigan. We have my family has a cabin up there. This game feels like all of those aspects of mid-Michigan in the 90s. I mean, they really have knocked out of the park with attention to detail, with the scenery and the characterizations for that era. I mean, it is a sort of period piece. It does kind of flip back and forth. So it takes place then. You're kind of reliving this story with these four girls and kind of the things they're going through, their trials and tribulations. There's a whole supernatural. You can kind of see in the trailers. I'm not going to get into that because I want people to experience it in the story. That starts to happen sort of, couple hours in. We start to really understand what that is. But they got everything right. I mean, you go up to anywhere in Michigan, and it's like we have ice cream, like side of the road ice cream shops. We still have movie rental places with VHS. And it's definitely had that kind of sort of small town up north feel. So like I said, it revolves around these four girls. There's this event that they kind of go through, this small little event, it's a small little moment where they all meet. And then from then it starts to spiral out of control into just some of the most, supernatural wild things. But what impacts me is how they connect to each other, and what the storytelling in this is all about. The gameplay is all about building the relationships with these other characters and how that affects the plot, how that affects a story. So Swan is the redhead in the trailer here, but Swan is sort of the main character, the main protagonist, at least in much of this. The lead character, sort of quiet, shy girl, a little bit introverted, but she meets these three other girls. They instantly form a bond. They're based on music, based on art and culture, based on their lifestyles, based on some of the stuff they're going through as a young adult. And she builds up her we build up her relationship to all these different characters based on how we're interacting with them. And it really is kind of the focus. And I hearken it back to thinking about, the game opens with you're sitting in your car. She's sitting in her car, and her mom's on the phone with her on the speakerphone, and she's talking to her mom. And you can just like shut the call off right away and get out of the car and walk into the next scene. But you can also sit there and have an actual conversation with your mother and tell her about what you're going through. And then while your mother's talking, you're looking around your car and kind of picking up after yourself and getting things ready. And then you're still kind of, yeah, mom, I'm still friends with them. And she's looking over here. Yeah. I mean, it's a little awkward, mom. So it's a very real type of conversation and interaction. It really kind of forces us to kind of talk and listen. Like there's a lot of listening in this game. Like you really do need to pay attention to all the conversations and kind of everything that's happening in your periphery. A lot of other adventure games will let you kind of just click and move around and click stuff till you find the right thing. But there is a lot of listening involved in this. I think that's, again, kudos to the development team for understanding what that relationship aspect is. And you have to do a lot of listening before you can actually do the interact. And then I think because of that, it may feel a little slower for people, for the casual fans, maybe someone who's not into adventure games, because you do have to do so much of that. It's not like it's a visual novel or anything, but you're definitely, you have to focus a little bit more than you would in typical games like this. So I love that aspect. The game looks great. Has a lot of, like I said, a lot of attention to detail. There's a bar in the game, and I was enamored by like looking at the different bottles of alcohol on the wall, and I'm like, oh, they did a great job with that one. That shape, I know that shape. I know this. And then I look down and I see like individual peanuts in the actual kind of peanut cardboard container. She's sitting there. And then I look over, I'm like, there are the water rings on the lacquer finished countertop. I'm like, man, this is sets the mood and the experience. And it's just an awesome detail. Because again, I feel like I'm there, and I feel like I'm at this small town. It's really nice fidelity. Playing it on a nice rig is great. I was playing on the Steam Deck, and there are some issues, as can kind of be imagined. It's the name is Bloom, Lost Records Bloom and Rage. There is a lot of bloom effect that they're doing in this game. It feels like it, and some of the stuff does take its toll on a Steam Deck, but it does look beautiful. I mean, like, again, just the colors they use. You're seeing a lot of things through a camcorder. That's how Swan starts to kind of scan and understand the things around her. She's always filming, and it's really cool because it's almost like scanning in a Metroid game where you're walking around scanning every little detail. It's starting to build up the story, like even little things like crumpled up pieces of paper, like everything has meaning and everything kind of builds up this interesting backstory to it. So yeah, you move around a 3D space. You're constantly looking at stuff, constantly kind of collecting things that maybe aren't pivotal to the story, but there's a lot of things to collect too. I always felt like I was missing something because you get a little check mark. It says you collected 4 out of 9 pieces of the graffiti, and I'm thinking, okay, I got to find more of this. And then I'm in the next chapter, and I'm thinking, man, I missed it. I totally missed this graffiti. Luckily, you can go back and replay these over and over again as much as you want, which is good. So you can start to collect those things. But there are a lot of collectibles, and because that, there's like a lot of different ways that the story can play out, and it's great. I mean, it's very replayable from that standpoint because your relationships that you build with the different characters can change and affect, right down to how you name your cat. Like I named my cat Snowy. So Shadow. Yeah. It's so cool. So yeah, I mean, again, I'm not a YA person. I haven't played a DontNod game before because of that, just because I'm not the target demographic. But I'm really surprised at how much I enjoy this game. I found myself cheering for these characters, and I found myself connecting with them and wondering how the story is going to turn out next. Because there's a little lead up to how things go, but when things happen, you're in it. Like you're all in for what could potentially happen next. So this is the first part. Second part's I think coming out, like I said, the next couple months or so. I yeah, surprised me. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to playing more of when the next part comes out and going back in and collecting more of the collectibles that I definitely missed. So yeah.
Did you play any Life is Strange games?
No, I didn't, but I've gone back and bought them now. After I've gone back, I've bought. They were on sale on Switch. They're on sale on Steam Deck, and I'm like, I'm gonna buy a couple of them. I have a 15-year-old daughter, and this will be perfect for her too. So I'm like, I'm gonna get them, and that way she can play on whatever platform she wants to play, and I'll play whatever platform I want. But yeah, after playing this game, I'm like, yeah, this is they may have got me. This is just great story, great character building, and instant relationship forming is just so.
Because it's what it's either 2 or 3 of the writers from Life is Strange.
Yeah. It's their first Canadian branch game,
right?
Is what it looks like.
Yeah. I mean, it's a Montreal studio. I know that they brought on 1, if not 2. Like associate writers because like they're Canadian and they're writing a story about the USA, so it's like I don't know, probably need a little bit of insight on that one. But yeah, I mean, even I feel like the writing begets the game design in some ways. So like you look at it and you're like, it's the same guys that did Life is Strange. It's like it's not, but it is.
It's not, but it is. Yeah.
Same old story.
But so it's great. I'm gonna be playing more of it.